So what is going on, guys? I'm Black Ops Amazing. Welcome back to another video where today we're going to be taking a look at the brand new Modern Warfare 3 Zombies ending cutscene that we saw for Act 4, because it is very juicy. We see a load of different things such as Weaver, Strauss, Carver, Grey as zombies. We see Samantha again, or what we believe to be her in the entity, Revanov being killed, along with a load of other things as well. So first off, I'm going to play the cutscene for you guys. If you have already seen it, you can skip to the timestamp, but let's remind ourselves of what takes place.
Drop your weapon! Drop it!
We will never be alone again. We will be one.
Jansen, this is Ravenov. Mr. Right team have returned from the rift.
Ravenov?
Ava, they made contact with some kind of entity. They're coming for debrief. Report to ops.
They met... what?
An entity inside the rift.
I'll be right there.
So at the end of Act 4, when our strike team are about to leave the Dark Ether, they come into contact once again with the entity. This same entity that Ava came into contact with in Act 3's cutscene. We believe this entity to be Samantha. That hasn't been confirmed. It's just a theory based off the fact that the last time we saw Samantha in Black Ops Cold War, she was plunged into the Dark Ether. Because Modern Warfare 3 Zombies is a sequel to Treyarch's game next year in 2024, which we think is going to be called Black Ops Gulf War, it isn't a direct sequel to Cold War Zombies. That means there is a bunch of context that we are missing. There are clearly a bunch of events that take place between this game, Modern Warfare 3 Zombies, and Cold War Zombies that we just don't know, and we won't find out until next year's game. So for that reason, there might be storyline stuff which would explain these events that we just won't learn about until next year, which leaves us guessing for now. But getting back to what I was saying, as the strike team leave the Dark Ether, that is when this cutscene kicks in and they come face to face with the entity, which is more than likely Samantha. She says to the strike team, "Your presence means nothing here in the Dark Ether. This is not your domain, it is ours, made of memories you will not corrupt." So that was what the strike team witnessed as they were leaving the Dark Ether, Samantha talking to them, and then the cutscene switches to Ava, where she's sitting in what I assume to be Operation Deadbolt's HQ, where she begins having a headache, and based off the last cutscene, she's also hearing Samantha in her head. She grabs her pills off the side, which we can see are labelled as clozapine, which are used to treat schizophrenia. Schizophrenia causes a range of different psychological symptoms, but it's often described as a type of psychosis, meaning the person that has it isn't always able to distinguish between their own thoughts and ideas from reality. So for example, they hear voices in their head, or they see things that are not real. But just breaking the fourth wall here, it's more than likely that Ava doesn't have schizophrenia. She's just been prescribed these by the doctor because, well, who's going to believe her if she told them the voices in her head were real? This voice is the entity. There is actually someone speaking to her. Of course, doctors aren't going to believe that, so she's been prescribed clozapine because she's probably been diagnosed with schizophrenia, which she doesn't have. But she probably believes she does, and so do her doctors, obviously. But she doesn't. The voices she's hearing are real, and also the visions she's been having might also be somewhat real, because we see next the alarm goes off in the room, Ava picks up her gun, she walks out, and then all of a sudden she is surrounded by zombies, and you will notice 4 zombies in particular look different to the rest, because not only do they have purple eyes, but also they are wearing clothing of characters that we are very familiar with. we see zombified versions of Weaver, Gray, Strauss, and Carver. They then begin to attack Ava as she starts fighting them off, shooting them, stabbing them. There is a cool little, I would call it an Easter egg in there, where you hear the voice of the denizens as Ava hits one of the zombies in the head with her machete. But anyway, she slices one of the zombies' throats, turns around to cut the one behind her. The camera then changes and shows that Ava has actually slit Revanov's throat, killing him, before SSO Green approaches her, tells her to drop her weapon, and has her arrested. But the camera then changes again to show that none of that happened, that it was either a vision or a premonition, which goes back to Ava's schizophrenia diagnosis, that she's hearing and seeing things that are not real. But what if these are real? We know the voice is real, and what she's seen here might have also been a vision shown to her by Samantha, because we see when she wakes up or when the camera pans back to her, her eyes are lit up purple, the same colour as Samantha's, and Ava starts speaking in Samantha's voice. She says, "We will never be alone again. We will be one." If we go back to Act 3's cutscene, we saw in that as Samantha or the entity came out of the rift and Ava was pulled towards her, Samantha said to Ava, "Let us in." Ava then screamed. She dropped to the floor and opened her eyes to reveal Samantha was inside of her. So in Act 3's cutscene, Samantha got inside of Ava, and now in Act 4's cutscene, we begin to see Samantha taking control of Ava, speaking to her in her head, giving her these visions or premonitions, and speaking through her. Ava let Samantha in. Ava is essentially possessed by Samantha. Just going back to Ava having the vision of seeing Weaver, Carver, Strauss and Gray as zombies in front of her, her fighting them off and then turning around to slit Revanov's throat before realising that none of it actually happened. If that was a vision shown to her by Samantha, is that something that Ava is going to do in the future? Maybe as we progress on through the Modern Warfare 3 seasons and Samantha begins to take more and more control of Ava, that is eventually something that Samantha is going to make Ava do, slit Revanov's throat, kill him. And also when she sees zombie Weaver, Strauss, Carver and Gray in front of her, well, we saw in Modern Warfare 3's intro cutscene, those characters were lying dead around a table in Las Almas with this device in front of them that had 2 Ethereum vials in it. But we still don't know right now why or how they died, but if Ava is seeing them as zombies in her vision, and especially because their eye colour is different to the rest of the undead, are they of more importance than regular zombies? Because the last time we saw these characters alive in Cold War, and the last time we saw Samantha, they were very good friends. Weaver and Samantha were best friends. Yet now in Modern Warfare 3 Zombies, they possess her eye colour as zombies. Cold War took place in the 80s, this is now in the year 2021 I think, or 2022, sometime between Modern Warfare 2019 and Modern Warfare 3, so almost 40 years later. Samantha has been in the Dark Ether for that long in our time, but because time in the Dark Ether works differently, for her she's actually been in there a lot longer, but for us in our years, she's been trapped within the Dark Ether for 40 years, which is an awfully long time. We know the Dark Ether changes people. We've already seen as a child it changed her. We've already seen from her time being trapped in there in Alpha Omega, she was changed quite a lot. We saw in Forsaken's ending, Samantha has powers. She can shoot Ethereum crystals from her hands. She can fly. That was just with her being trapped in the Dark Ether for a relatively short amount of time compared to 40 years. So you can imagine how much she's changed now. It doesn't only change people physically, but also mentally, and it usually makes you a lot more evil. I think that's the best word to describe it. If the entity is Samantha, she's definitely, and we can see evidence of that, going to be nowhere near like what we last saw her. When Samantha says to Ava, "Let us in," she clearly doesn't have good intentions. When she says us, is she referring to herself or is she referring to multiple people? Does she mean us as in everything within the Dark Ether, every Dark Ether creature and entity? Does she mean let us in as in the power of the Dark Ether and what it can give you? I'm not 100% sure, but right at the end of the cutscene where it switches back to reality and it shows that everything that Ava saw was just a vision and her eyes change back from Samantha's to her own, Revanov then contacts Ava over the radio, which shows that her slitting Revanov's throat was just a vision. It didn't happen yet. He then tells Ava the strike team made contact with the entity, which we saw in the beginning of the cutscene, and finally we see on Ava's computer she has images of Weaver, Gray, Carver, Maxis and Revanov, all members of Requiem. Well, there is one character missing, being Strauss. I'm not too sure why he's not there, but all of the others are. Revanov we know is still active, he's alive. Weaver, Gray and Carver are dead, but strangely Samantha's status isn't specified. It doesn't say that she's active or she's deceased. In fact, it says classified. Janus, directive, 6776D. Now, as far as we know, Revanov is well aware that Samantha, the last time he saw her, was trapped in the Dark Ether, so at the very least, surely Revanov would have told Ava that, and the other members of Operation Deadbolt, so you would have thought her status would have said something like trapped within the Dark Ether, or presumed dead, something like that, but instead it says classified Janus directive. Now, we've heard of Janus before, that is Project Janus, which was Richtofen's project, but that's about as far as our knowledge went. We have no idea what Project Janus is, what it entails. There are theories and guesses that we have, but that's all they are. But the fact that it then says directive next to it, directive can mean command, order. Is this saying that Samantha has a role to play in Project Janus? Which in one way is true because Project Janus couldn't go through without Samantha being dealt with first, which Richtofen did in Cold War. He got rid of her by trapping her in the Dark Ether, but that was about as far as her involvement went as far as we knew. But maybe it's deeper than that. Is Samantha actually actively a part of Project Janus? Like I said, it's difficult to say because we're missing an entire game. This is just a sequel to Treyarch's next year's Zombies game, and I'm assuming in that game we're going to find out a lot more about Project Janus, so this will probably be answered then, which means for now we're kind of in the dark. So yeah, there we go. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. As always, hopefully you've enjoyed the video. If you have, drop a like rating. Make sure you are subscribed to stay up to date with the latest content on the channel. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Until then, goodbye.